to talk about songwriting, but before we even get to songwriting, tell me your earliest musical memory. Being around the house, what did you hear?
Probably show tunes. My dad loved show tunes. He would, Sunday mornings, it was Oklahoma and My Fair Lady and literally, I mean, that's what I remember. And then, the youngest of 6. So, my brothers and sisters were listening to Pat Boone and, Frankie Avalon. And then it was, I was 6 and it was the Beatles. So that's what I
bet that pretty much took over everything at that point.
I Want to Hold Your Hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in first grade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. She Loves You. Yeah.
Mickey, what do you remember growing up?
Church. That's what I remember. My dad is a deacon and my mom was a deaconess at a Baptist church. So that's what all my memories were. And when I was like maybe 6 at most, there's this one song that my church did. It was called Fully Committed. It was a duet between a man and a woman, and my dad had me sing that part, and that's when he discovered that I could sing, and I did not want to sing. It was way past my bedtime.
You didn't want to sing?
Well, at that time, it was way past my bedtime. I didn't even understand it, but he was the one that discovered that I could sing just from being in the church, so that's where it all started for me.
Kristian, earliest musical memory?
I was an experiment. I was enrolled when I'm from the mountains of East Tennessee, in Appalachia, from Sevierville, Tennessee, which is where Dolly Parton's from. Yes, so we only get AM radio there, and it's AM country radio. And there was a strange upbringing that I had. My mother decided to enroll me in the pilot program for the Suzuki method, which is this Japanese idea of teaching you classical music at the time your brain learns language, which is year 3. So I remember learning Vivaldi and listening to Dolly Parton. I'm an experiment.
Well, it worked.
You really are an experiment.
The image alone is worth the price of admission tonight. Right, right there. So to talk about songwriting, how do those earliest memories, where do they play in songwriting? Do they play in songwriting?
I think they do. I think for me, they do because we were talking about this earlier. It's kind of like shopping. Like we were saying, you go shopping and you're like, oh, I know exactly what I want. You go shop for what you want and you leave. Or you walk around the mall and you're like, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. And you go in circles. And when you have melodies in your head or experiences or you've been filled with music in your life and you come across a part of a song that you're writing, you go, oh, that's right. And then you decide and then you move on to the next part of the song.
Right.
So I think that matters. I think the only judgment call you can make is, do I like that or do I not like it?
Right.
Or does it feel good or does it not feel good?
And Liz, you kind of come at this from a slightly different perspective in that you don't play an instrument. And in fact,
she does a little bit,
yeah,
but really badly.
and in fact, I was fascinated to read that you were encouraged not to learn.
No, because I started writing really late, like in my 40s, and had never written a poem. I love music. I'm the person that you remember in high school that was like, she knows every word to every song she's ever heard once. So I never wrote poems. I never wrote in a journal. I never wrote anything down for fear somebody would find it. And so I started so late, and so I never learned how to play anything. And as I got into it, I was like, I want to learn how to play. And people were like, no, don't do that, because when someone starts playing, words come out. But if I sat there and tried to write a song and take a guitar lesson, it would just completely kill the vibe of the song. So now I'm just trying to learn after. I'm still not very good at it, but I'm trying.
But now, having come as far as you have, do you find that as maybe you're trying to learn to play, that it informs a little bit?
No, and I don't.
That was a
have
really good question, wasn't it?
Honestly, no. I mean, I still write the way I wrote and always wrote. And here's the thing about not playing anything. You don't have to carry a guitar around everywhere. It's kind of awesome. You know,
Your airplane experience is so much better than ours.
I see people, you know, like they're dragging guitars and their computers, and I'm like, yeah, that's because you had to learn how to play. No, it's like...
One of the things that I think is common to songwriters, particularly early on, is the need for honest feedback. Not, kind of blowing smoke at you, but sort of honest. No.
No, my mom. Let me chime in.
Yeah,
there.
go ahead.
So I wrote this song. I was sitting upon the windowsill. And I sang it to my mom, and I was waiting for this reaction, and she shot me down so bad. I was like, maybe, you should just focus on school.
Ooh.
And that ruined me. Like, that hurt me so bad. Like, you do need honest feedback, but in a nice way. Because when you put your heart into something and someone gives you that harsh feedback, it hurts. Yeah. Especially when you spend all this time creating something that you thought was so great, and they just freaking crap on it. Thank you.
You guys were shaking your head on the feedback thing.
No,
I mean, not so much.
I'm a publisher. I started out as a publisher. I was a publisher first, so of course I know everything. That's why I started writing. I was like, why are y'all not writing this? Forget it. I'll just go write it. That's literally how I start. I mean, I'm not kidding. And so now when someone tells me there's something wrong with it, I mean, even before when Jody Williams would go, I would go, I'd get the, how dare you? But, usually people are right. I think with a song, even as a publisher now, when you listen, if there's a red flag, it hits you automatically. Mm-hmm. And that's usually the sign that something needs to be fixed. Right. So I really work hard to be open to that. Yeah. I'm not very good at it. And I always say that I want to be better at it. But
do you think you're getting better at it by any chance? No. Okay.
I'm like, I just write another song. If there's something wrong with that one, let's just go write another
make
song.
One.
Yeah.
So each of you has had the experience of writing with others, and there's obviously a very long tradition of doing that in Nashville. And Kristian, I read a quote of yours that was particularly interesting to me, the journey of being in Nashville, the journey of learning about collaborations, that you've been a collaborator most of your life, but the art of the co-write is a different art in Nashville.
It absolutely is.
How so?
Well, I'm from Atlanta. And I went to Emory University, and the only way that I ever knew you were ever going to make an album is by writing it. I didn't know that the jobs were separate. So I was unaware that there was a writer and then a singer. I was looking at R.E.M. and the Indigo Girls and Black Crowes, and all those people write their songs. So if you want to make a record, then you need to write some songs. So it was a new journey for me to be 10 years into the business and a whole major label and a whole trip around the earth touring, and then come into Nashville and be like, okay. And they're like, well, let's write together. I'm like, are you crazy? How are we going to have a communicate? Well, why? Do you need me to write a song for you? How does this work? And but it feels, I'm so aware of the art of it because I wasn't raised in the culture of it, that I see people who are masters at it. I sit in a very odd seat where literally I'm on this couch somewhere between a successful writer and a successful artist, right? And so some days I'm writing for you, and some days you're writing for me. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting to watch that dance because it happens in about 20 seconds.
And is it always well defined? No. Who's writing for who when you're
It isn't. And I have in many times sat in a room, like I sat with a band recently called Need to Breathe. They're like a Christian band from Charleston, right? And these cool brothers and awesome beards and great voices, and we talk for a minute, and they're like, man, we want to write this song. And I'm like, great, we need one song for the record. So I write it with them, and it's awesome. And then I realize on my drive home that it's for me.
Wow.
And what am I going to do about this? Because I think I'm extremely attached to this song. And how do you back that out?
You both cut it.
And you both cut it, but this is the
Spoken
art,
like a
this
true
is the
publisher.
art of Nashville.
I mean, remember how that used to happen? You know, Linda Ronstadt and Bonnie Raitt and Emmylou, and you know, they all cut the same songs. I don't know why we're so afraid of that now.
I'm kind of into it now as an experiment to see what it feels like to hear someone else do the same exact emotion that I had, because my story about that song is different than those guys.
Yeah.
But it's the same song. You were sitting in the same room.
A couple of weeks ago, well, about a month ago, I was in a write with two guys, and one of them is an artist. But the other guy said, hey, Blake's looking. Let's write a song called Blake. Not called Blake. Let's write a song for Blake. And I kind of went, oh, that totally kills my vibe every time somebody says that, because I can't get in the head of an artist unless they're in the room. I can't write for them. A lot of people are really good at it. I'm not. And the other guy walked out, and this artist and I looked at each other, and I said, man, I can't do that. And he goes, yeah, I can't either. I'm not good at that at all. I'm looking for songs. And I said, let's write something for you. We wrote something for him. 2 weeks later, guess who cut it? Blake. So you never know.
But I have to ask you about your process in particular, because I've read some things where you like to get in the head of the person you are writing with, somewhat of a psychologist in a certain way, in terms of whatever's going on with that person. Talk about how that helps you.
Well, the girl that I really started writing with early on, we wrote a lot of songs together and got our first cuts together, and she really taught me how to write. And we didn't write again for like 10 years. And we got together the other day, and I realized that we did the same thing. And I was like, you taught me how to do that. And what you do is you get your notebook out. I don't write on a computer. I write tablet, spiral notebook, paper, pen, write on the left-hand side, and they talk. And I just write down everything.
And it looks like scribble, by the way.
Everything they say.
You've done
can't
this.
tell what I have.
So you got a girlfriend? Are y'all fighting? Did you break up? You know, got an old girlfriend? I got an old boyfriend, right?
Oh,
No,
no.
it's
We've
so
gone through
true.
it.
But she starts it off like you go to her house and she has like food for you. Like you get there and she has like a salad or something. You sit there and you eat. Then she brings out the wine and you're just talking and talking and
When
talking.
are we gonna write?
This
Come
is
on.
really
It's the
good.
best, and her house
It's
is like
Wednesday
up on this
nights.
hill, and it's like a tree house almost, and you can see all of Nashville up there. And she gets in your head. She does. It's crazy.
And how does that help you?
It just helps you-
as the artist.
Well, co-writes are awkward as it is, especially if you don't know the person. And I know her and I know this guy and we become really great friends. But you get in a co-write and it's just like, all right, so let's write a song. And it's not easy like that. But when you get to know the person and you're comfortable, then it's candid and then you can really get into their head. And Liz is such a great writer. She writes real songs and real things that happen in your life so that when you sing it, you believe it. And that's what's so brilliant about this woman.
I just love the way people will spill their guts.
Oh, I have. I have.
And
spilled
I
my guts
love
there.
the way there is this unwritten, unspoken songwriting rule that we never talk about. But you can tell secrets in a writing room, and they never leave that room.
Nope.
I've never heard anybody go, well, I heard so-and-so, we were writing the other day. You might have been, I heard so-and-so at a bar the other night. That gets told. But in a writing room,
You're totally right.
It's pretty. I
You're
know,
safe.
It's
You're safe in a
amazing.
writing room.
It's
I've bawled
amazing.
my eyes out in a writing room and had to leave.
Okay, so this is the advice. If anyone has really something really unsavory to share it in a writing room.
Yes.
So
Yes.
be sure to do that. And I have to ask this question because I'm fascinated by it. Titles. Titles important? Are they important?
For me, it lands on one side of the needle or the other.
How so?
So it's either the title is something I'm carrying around, or I get to the end of the song and I can't figure out what the title should be. It only lands on one or the other. It never is in the middle for me.
We write alike. It's crazy. Yeah.
Titles?
For me, it's different. Like sometimes the title, it's like you find this really cool title and you write this amazing song, or you find this really cool title and you can't wrap your brain around it. For
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and then it just ruins the
It's a little
writing
bit-
day. And
I write
you-
into
Really?
the title a lot. A lot.
Do you write backwards or forwards?
Ooh, that's.
I just had this conversation
Yeah.
with a guy the other day. He said he
It
said he
depends.
sees
It depends.
the title and he writes the title and then he writes the second verse backwards and then the first verse backwards.
Never, because I don't
Well,
even think you need
and
a
I've
second
done that,
verse
though.
sometimes.
And I was
just
like, wow, that sounds like
nobody cares about the
math.
second verse. They just want to hear the chorus again.
Well, was it? I forget where I was reading this, but somebody was talking about Bill Anderson and Bill
yeah.
and Bill Anderson's songwriting and how he literally writes backwards from the end of the story. Like what's
That
the
might have
end
been
of the-
me.
Yeah.
So,
That's crazy.
Yeah. So Bill, he's from the same little part of Atlanta that I have been living in.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Sugarland came up, he was on my to-do list of like, I got to look this guy up, because I'm obsessed with songwriters that are people have forgotten or counted out. And they're carrying around all the information we need, and no one's asking them the right question. So I was like, okay, I got to seek out Bill. And I came to Bill, and he's totally into it. He's still deeply in the hustle. Bill we couldn't figure out where to write, so he came to the room that I was in at the Hermitage, which was this hotel because I don't live there. And he came in, and he wanted to write the name of the room because it was a Bible verse, like 3:15 or something. Like he was into it. And I was like, wow, you're a strange character. And we sat down, and I said, well, I've been working on this chorus. And I started singing it to him. He goes, oh, my gosh, they haven't written one of these kinds of songs in a long time. And I said, what kind of song is that? And he said, well, this is a tragedy, a teen tragedy, like you in the 50s, like the car crash,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, okay. And he goes, well, we need to kill him in the first verse. And I was like, well, really? And he was like, yeah, I always write my songs backwards. And that's how I figured out what he was telling me, and it made a lot of sense. It's not the car crash that connects us together. It's how we deal with it the day after that we all go through.
Is there this brings up the thought. I'm wondering if there are people that you've run into, maybe Bill is one, but there are others who approach songwriting in a more traditional fashion, and those who maybe are much more almost experimental in their approach. Have you encountered different kinds of songwriters?
I know I have, but I'd be interested to see what y'all think because you're in different places.
Mickey, go ahead.
No, absolutely. When I had to write with Tom Douglas, I mean,
Okay, well, I have to ask
kinda
about that
fun.
reaction. Okay.
He's a machine.
I mean, this man wrote some of the most amazing songs that all of us love dearly. One of my favorites, it's more recent, House That Built Me. That song, every time I hear it, I wail crying. But he is a storyteller, and his thought process, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it's just like a freak of nature. It's like he sits there and blah, 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 and it's like, I'm so insignificant right now. I'm just going to step out of the room right now.
He'll come in and he'll go, well, I got this little piece here. Let me just read it. I don't know if this is anything. And it's like this brilliant, like you're going, oh, how, okay. This is way above me, but you know what? we're going to make a song out of it because you're brilliant and we're going to use it. I mean, that's basically
Yeah.
what you
Hillary
do with Tom.
Lindsay's is like that too.
Yeah, Hillary's
Hillary
like
Lindsay
that.
is
Are
just
there-
But
like,
Hillary she doesn't come in with it like Girl Crush. Hillary I didn't want to write it. And I thought, well, I didn't. I thought we shouldn't write a song called Girl Crush. And and Lori waited until Hillary walked in and said, Hillary, I want to write a song called Girl Crush. Like, Liz won't let me. And Hillary sat down literally and started playing guitar and went, you mean like this? And sang the first verse. I mean, she
so
is
cool, though, when that
brilliant. She's.
Yeah, she is.
And
Yeah.
you were convinced at that moment that you could write a song called Girl Crush?
I was like, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's brilliant. I knew we were going to write this song today.
So that's a situation where, you know, clearly you have a comfort level with the people that you're working with. You know them. Kristian, you just released a record, Southern Gravity.
Yeah.
And I think the first single from the record, Love or Money.
Yeah, it was the first single that anybody could figure out I could sing.
Written with Jeff Cohen.
I wrote it with Jeff.
And a guy.
And Matt Thiessen.
If I have this right, the gentleman you had met the day before.
No, I met him that day.
That day.
Because I'm from Atlanta, I don't know anybody. Now I know Liz, because now we know. And well, I know you. It is. And so I'm having to get better at walking into a room with strangers who know what they're doing and kind of faking it until we figure out what to write. And so I walked
don't listen to him.
Walked into a room with Matt, and I was like, "Hey, my name's Kristian." He's like, "My name's Matt. You know, we're about to spend the next 3 hours together." And I was like, "So where are you from?" He's like, "Well, I'm from L.A., but I just moved here." And I said, why'd you come here? Did you come here for love or money? And then I was like, oh, crap. We're writing that song. Right? So that's I write anything I can hear. Like in a lobby, I heard 2 or 3 things. You know?
Shrimp wonton.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry.
A couple of days. I'm still in the place where I'm writing with strangers. Like 2 days ago, I wrote with a guy named Luke. You probably know this guy, Luke Dick. I walked into the room, don't know this guy. And he was just so affable, so friendly, and I'm a pretty happy guy. Like I go through life with a smile, and it was just so easy to write a song with him in an hour and a half, and I didn't even know him 10 minutes before.
Speed dating.
It's speed dating, yeah.
Yeah.
But
It is.
I do believe, like in the most kind of pop culture-y, Malcolm Gladwell-ish type of way. You know really quickly when you meet somebody if you like them, if you're like-minded, if you're the kind of person that would hang out with that person. And if he's fooling me, he's doing a great job. But I like to believe that you're not fooling me. I like to believe that song is pretty awesome.
Can I chime in there about you really
Yeah.
fast, though? I know he's saying walking in the room, it's hard going into a room with strangers, but you did that with me. And you had never met me, and you were so kind. And this man is so brilliant with his melodies and lyrics. So you really are really good at meeting strangers. So don't listen to him, y'all. Like he's
We wrote a
pretty
good song
amazing.
that day.
We did. I Want You So Bad.
So I've also heard from songwriters who argue against kind of the tradition of co-writing in Nashville, that the idea of making an appointment to write a song is, shall we say, working against inspiration.
Okay.
What's your sense of that?
I'll arm wrestle you.
Go ahead.
Like poetry, it's 10% inspiration and 90% craft. And the longer you do it, the more you realize that's true. And when I first started, I absolutely believed that. For the first 10 years I wrote songs, I was like, I can't write unless I'm comfortable. And I can't write unless I have these socks on, like a baseball player or something. And I can't write if I'm in emotional distress with my girlfriend. And I can't write unless I have this guitar. Like, somehow that's going to make things better. And it's just that you suck.
I think it's 100%
It
showing
is.
up.
And you have to show up.
think
And
it's just
because
showing up.
you're gonna be terrible at this job for a long time. And then you're gonna be less terrible. The best quote I ever heard, it was on like an EPK for a couple of Pearl Jam records ago. They were talking. Eddie Vedder was talking, and I guess I'm recounting this probably poorly, but someone had asked him about writing songs and his advice, and he had said, "Look, man, write 100 of them and then judge yourself." I thought that was had I known that when I was 17, I probably would have been easier on me.
Yeah, yeah. So, but Liz, you've said that the work you did with Taylor was in fact singular to her, that it's not really representative of the way you might normally write with others. Would you talk a little bit about the process with her?
Well, with Taylor, I was always the lyricist, not with Taylor. Before, I was like, somebody would come in and they'd start playing, and lyrics just come to my head, and I'm the lyric boss, and I'm like, But with Taylor, she would come in with a melody and dummy words. She'd have an idea, she'd have something she wanted to write about, and most times she had a title. In fact, always she had a title. And she would just start playing and saying things, and I would write it down as fast as I could. And I would move sentences around, or I would swap them, or I would move words, and go, well, what you said this. Oh, don't forget we want to use this. Basically, or let's get to the chorus now. So that's kind of how I wrote with her. I mean, literally, the first time I wrote with her, I walked out and said, I'm embarrassed. I don't even know why I was there. She's brilliant. She's brilliant. I mean, she is a songwriter. She's a songwriter first. And I know people see her as this big star and everything, but I really believe that she's an artist because she was a songwriter. She's fantastic. It was like somebody said to me, you're spending a lot of time writing with this teenager. And I was like, yeah, but it's the funnest and easiest thing I do all week. Why wouldn't I do this? I'm living vicariously through a 15-year-old, No, but yeah. No, with her, I used to get, someone used to say, you're an editor. And it used to really offend me. I was like, no, I'm a co-writer, which you are. But I was really an editor for her. And we were bouncing balls for each other. We just it would just do that. Yeah, it was great.
And Kristian, you had a situation with Jennifer where you were very much writing for kind of this powerhouse vocal presence. How does that change or does it change your head a little bit?
Well, first of all, she's an incredible singer, and it's like a person who can play all the notes on a guitar. So there's nothing that's off limits. You can write from the lowest to the highest. You can jump as aggressively or as casually. You can be subtle or you can be bombastic. And that's a control that I don't have with myself. Like in my mind, when I close my eyes, I'm like, Aretha Franklin, Aretha Franklin, Aretha Franklin. And I can hear it as if I can do that. But when I open up my mouth, I have a character voice. So my voice only does a certain amount of things, but my heart wants to do all those other things. And it was a really great combination because I would do things and say, it's supposed to go like this. And she'd be like, oh, you mean like this? I'd be like, yes. And it was always even better than what came out. And what I think there's just such a huge, great combination of learning to write for that. The weird thing for me was learning to write the emotions of women rather than the emotions of men. And y'all are different.
We're crazy. Just go ahead and say
You're
it.
just different, and it's okay to be different. But I really lean on Jennifer to make those edits, to make those turns where I'm like, look, here's the thing I'm trying to get at. She's like, yeah, except this. And what it became is quickly I became obsessed with writing songs that empower women. And just because I didn't know how to do that, and I didn't understand it. And I had a very powerful mother, and I didn't have any sisters. I have no frame of reference, but I loved this idea that if if it made you feel better, just to be yourself. And Jennifer was such a great voice for that, you know, because she believed it, and she lives in it, and it's part of who she is. And then the temperament of a man, and my phrasing is very Springsteen-y, you know, like when that's interpreted through a woman, it's a very unique space to be in, and it gave a voice to the message of what we were doing, in addition to the voice of the band, which is her incredible voice.
So we got time for one more question, and it's this. Finish this. I want each of you to finish this sentence for me. A good songwriter, the most important attribute of a good songwriter should be blank.
Truth.
Melody.
Rhythm.
Perfect.
I do. I think that everything, the rhythm of what you say is intoxicating. Just like the truth of what you say is
The truth and the emotion.
And the
Melody,
and the
if I
melody's
feel it, like melody,
intoxicating.
yeah, it is.
Well,
All
You're
those things
totally
are
about to see that show. I just see that your question.
We're starting a band.
all I can say is thank you for the rhythm, the melody, and the truth in this discussion. Ladies
for
and gentlemen,
having
Mickey
me.
Guyton, Kristian Bush, Liz Rose. We're going to take
Thank
a
you
little
so
break,
much.
reset the stage, and we'll bring these folks out in a minute.